4. Appointed a ban horse, could he be content? Named equal to heaven, he's still not appeased. The gold star of Venus left the depths of the cave dwelling with the handsome Monkey King, and together they rose by mounting the clouds. But the cloud somersault of Wukong, you see, is no common magic. Its speed is tremendous. Soon he left the gold star far behind and arrived first at the South Heaven Gate. He was about to dismount from the cloud and go in when the Devaraja Viru Haka Leding, Pang, Liu, Ko, Bi, Deng, Xin, Zheng, and Tao, the various divine heroes, barred the way with spears, scimitars, swords, and halberds and refused him entrance. The Monkey King said, "What a deceitful fellow that gold star is! If Old Monkey has been invited here, why have these people been ordered to use their swords and spears to bar my entrance?" He was protesting loudly when the gold star arrived in haste. "Old man," said Wukong angrily to his face, "why did you deceive me? You told me that I was invited by the Jade Emperor's decree of pacification. Why then did you get these people to block the Heaven Gate and prevent my entering? Let the great king calm down." The gold star said, laughing, "Since you have never been to the Hall of Heaven before, nor have you been given a name, you are quite unknown to the various heavenly guardians. How can they let you in on their own authority? Once you have seen the heavenly Deva, received an appointment, and had your name listed in the immortal register, you can go in and out as you please. Who would then obstruct your way? If that's how it is," said Wukong, "it's all right. But I'm not going in by myself." "Then go in with me," said the gold star, pulling him by the hand. As they approached the gate, the gold star called out loudly, "Guardians of the Heaven Gate, lieutenants great and small, make way. This person is an immortal from the region below, whom I have summoned by the imperial decree of the Jade Emperor." The Devaraja Viru, Haka, and the various divine heroes immediately lowered their weapons and stepped aside, and the Monkey King finally believed what he had been told. He walked slowly inside with the gold star and looked around. For it was truly his first ascent to the region above. His sudden entrance into the Hall of Heaven, where 10,000 shafts of golden light whirled as a coral rainbow, and 1,000 layers of hallowed air diffused mist of purple. Look at that South Heaven Gate. Its deep shades of green from glazed tiles were made. Its radiant battlements, adorned with treasure jade. On two sides were posted scores of celestial sentinels, each of whom, standing tall beside the pillars, carried bows and clutched banners. All around were sundry divine beings in golden armor, each of them holding halberds and whips, or wielding scimitars and swords. Impressive may be the outer court. Overwhelming is the sight within. In the inner halls stood several huge pillars, circled by red-whiskered dragons whose golden scales gleamed in the sun. There were, moreover, a few long bridges. Above them crimson-headed phoenixes circled with soaring plumes of many hues. Bright mist shimmered in the light of the sky. Green fog descending obscured the stars. 33 heavenly mansions were found up here, with names like the Scattered Cloud, the Vusrava, the Pankavitaya, the Suyama, the Nirma Arati. On the roof of every mansion the ridge held a stately golden beast. There were also the 72 treasure halls, with names like the Morning Assembly, the Transcendent Void, the Precious Light, the Heavenly King, the Divine Minister. In every hall, beneath the pillars, stood rows of jade unicorn. On the platform of Canopus, there were flowers unfading in 1,000 millennia. Beside the oven for refining herbs, there were exotic grasses growing green for 10,000 years. He went before the tower of homage to the sage, where he saw robes of royal purple gauze, brilliant as stars refulgent, caps the shape of hibiscus, resplendent with gold and precious stones, and pins of jade and shoes of pearl, and purple sashes and golden ornaments. When the golden bells swayed to their striking, The memorial of the three judges would cross the vermilion courtyard. When the drums of heaven were sounded, 10,000 sages of the royal audience would honor the Jade Emperor. He went, too, to the treasure hall of divine mists, where nails of gold penetrated frames of jade, and colorful phoenixes danced atop scarlet doors. Here were covered bridges and winding corridors, displaying everywhere openwork carvings most elegant, and eaves crowding together in layers 3 and 4, on each of which reared up phoenixes and dragons. There was high above a round dome, big, bright, and brilliant, its shape a huge gourd of purple gold, below which guardian goddesses hung out their fans, and jade maidens held up their immortal veils. Ferocious were the sky marshals overseeing the court, dignified the divine officials protecting the throne. There at the center, on a crystal platter, tablets of the great monad elixir were heaped, and rising out of the cornalline vases were several branches of twisting coral. So it was that rare goods of every order were found in heaven's hall, and nothing like them on earth could ever be seen. Those golden arches, silver coaches, and that heavenly house, those coralline blooms and jasper plants with their buds of jade. The jade rabbit passed the platform to adore the king. The golden crow flew by to worship the sage. Blessed was the monkey king coming to this heavenly realm, he who was not mired in the filthy soil of man. The gold star of Venus led the handsome monkey king to the treasure hall of divine mists, and, without waiting for further announcement, they went into the imperial presence. While the star prostrated himself, Wukong stood erect by him. Showing no respect, he cocked his ear only to listen to the report of the gold star. "According to your decree," said the gold star, "your subject has brought the bogus immortal." "Which one is the bogus immortal?" asked the Jade Emperor graciously. Only then did Wukong bow and reply, "None other than Old Monkey." Blanching with horror, the various divine officials said, "That wild ape. Already he has failed to prostrate himself before the throne, and now he dares to come forward with such an insolent reply as, none other than Old Monkey. He is worthy of death, worthy of death. That fellow Sun Wukong is a bogus immortal from the region below," announced the Jade Emperor. "And he has only recently acquired the form of a human being. We shall pardon him this time for his ignorance of court etiquette." "Thank you, Your Majesty," cried the various divine officials. Only then did the Monkey King bow deeply with folded hands and utter a cry of gratitude. The Jade Emperor then ordered the divine officials, both civil and military, to see what vacant appointment there might be for Sun Wukong to receive. From the side came the star spirit of Wuqiu, who reported, "In every mansion and hall everywhere in the palace of heaven, there is no lack of ministers. Only at the imperial stables is a supervisor needed. Let him be made a ban horse plague," proclaimed the Jade Emperor. The various subjects again shouted their thanks, but Monkey only bowed deeply and gave a loud whoop of gratitude. The Jade Emperor then sent the star spirit of Jupiter to accompany him to the stables. The Monkey King went happily with the star spirit of Jupiter to the stables in order to assume his duties. After the star spirit had returned to his own mansion, the new officer gathered together the deputy and assistant supervisors, the accountants and stewards, and other officials, both great and small, and made thorough investigation of all the affairs of the stables. There were about 1,000 celestial horses, and they were all Huelius and Kitties, Urs and Xianlis, consorts of dragons and purple swallows, folded wings and suxiangs, Juetis and silver hooves, Yao Niaos and flying yellows, chestnuts and faster than arrows, red hares and speedier than lights, leaping lights and vaulting shadows, rising fogs and triumphant yellows, wind chasers and distance breakers, flying pinions and surging airs, rushing winds and fiery lightnings, copper sparrows and drifting clouds, dragon-like piebalds and tiger-like pintos, dust quenchers and purple scales, and furganas from the four corners. Like the 8 steeds and 9 stallions, they have no rivals within 1,000 miles. Such are these fine horses, every one of which neighs like the wind and gallops like thunder to show a mighty spirit. They tread the mist and mount the clouds with unflagging strength. Our Monkey King went through the lists and made a thorough inspection of the horses. Within the imperial stables, the accountants were in charge of getting supplies. The stewards groomed and washed the horses, chopped hay, watered them, and prepared their food. And the deputies and assistants saw to the overall management. Never resting, the Bhima oversaw the care of the horses, fussing with them by day and watching over them diligently by night. Those horses that wanted to sleep were stirred up and fed. Those that wanted to gallop were caught and placed in the stalls. When the celestial horses saw him, they all behaved most properly, and they were so well cared for that their flanks became swollen with fat. More than half a month soon went by, and on one leisurely morning, the various department ministers gave a banquet to welcome and congratulate him. While they were drinking happily, the Monkey King suddenly put down his cup and asked, "What sort of rank is this ban horse plague of mine?" "The rank and the title are the same," they said. "But what ministerial grade is it?" "It does not have a grade," they said. "If it does not have a grade," said the Monkey King, "I suppose it must be the very highest." "Not at all," they replied. "It can only be called the unclassified." The Monkey King said, "What do you mean by the unclassified?"